Hello, welcome to The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is Winning Your Fantasy Football Drafts. This is a video textbook, I guess. We have lessons here, so could be a class here. This is lesson 9 today. Please go back to at least lesson 8 on me setting the table for principal component analysis, and I hope that start at the beginning. But anyway, we're going to move forward and look specifically at quarterbacks for 2021. And we're going to use the principal component analysis as a way to look at 2020 and establish a baseline for us to then begin to think about maybe who we should draft, or kind of a tier system or an order that we should approach our research certainly on, because things are still in flux, and we have to wait and see free agency, and pieces are moved around, coaches and players, etc. So it's kind of never done until it's done, right? And if you're drafting earlier in the summer versus later, things are definitely going to be changing. But this begins, at least for me, a way to start the process. So let's go. So in gathering data, and I've covered this, I think, in lesson 7, coherence of the data. I think a problem we have a lot in fantasy football is there's just too much data out there, and there's a lot of evidence that too much data, if it doesn't help us gain coherence in our data sets, then it's not really useful. And so just listening to a bunch of podcast or reading, the latest clickbait article, it's pretty weak, and it's not going to do what you think it's going to do. You might increase your confidence, but your accuracy probably is not going to increase much. So we use principal component analysis to try to winnow down the variables, prune the data, get some questions to start testing and looking at, right? So we're starting with quarterbacks, and this is previously in lesson 8. And long story short, principal component analysis told us, I guess you can say it that way, but not kind of really, but suggested that there are 3 buckets to look at, are 3 aspects of a quarterback: passing activity, rushing activity, and passing skills. And so there they are. These are all the potential variables I looked at, and what happened was, using principal component analysis, and you can see here, we took each group. For instance, passing activity, completions is the best way to measure that activity. And you're saying, what about the other ones? What they do is just are the same piece of the whole puzzle that the completions are pretty much telling you. So I don't have to focus so much on a lot of other information. And here's the .975, and then for rushing, it's rushing yards. That's the quarterback rushing activity. That's certainly not something that's going away. It's increasing, and it's .896. And then finally, passing skill. How good are the quarterbacks? TDs versus interceptions, .844. So now we have our 3 variables representing and carrying the flags for the 3 different aspects of a quarterback for fantasy football. And let me just show you the Excel PowerPoint here, and obviously you can screenshot this. This is yours to take. So I got the quarterback, the team, and this is from 2020. The completions, the passing TDs, the interceptions, and the TD/interceptions. That's a compound variable. And then rushing yards, and then the fantasy points from that. And so now I've gathered the data, and I've winnowed out. If you saw my original spreadsheet, if you'll go back to the previous slide, you see I had a lot more data columns than this, but this is kind of where the model lands us, at least right now. And, I pretty much did a colorization here to let you look at, the high quarterbacks, the low quarterbacks, and these kind of things. You can take a look at that data. So what I did was, for instance, completions. I'll just go through that. I found the maximum value for 2020, and that was 407. The maximum value for TD interception was 9.6, and the rushing yards was 1,005. So that represent 100% the best that happened last year. So Aaron Rodgers, if we look at his stats, he did 372 completions, not the best. He did 9.6, which was the best, but his rushing yards was 149. So I divided the player's value right here by the max. Okay, so here's that calculation. 372 divided by 407. I multiplied by the PCA factor. Okay, that was in the previous slide. And I come out, Aaron Rodgers gets 89.1 incompletions, or RC1. There it is. And I call that scaled completions. Here is TD and interception, 9.6 divided by 9.6 times the factor, 89.6. And here's Aaron Rodgers there. And then 149 divided by 1,005 times 0.844 is 0.125. So he was not very strong in rushing. That's okay. I simply added these numbers together, and here was his final model number, PCM. I just called it the principal component model number, based on the previous data pruning and based on the 3 categories. So again, we looked at RC1, 2, and 3, and this is how, for instance, I calculated Aaron Rodgers. So if you don't know Excel, you can certainly freeze this, and because I'm actually going to show you the complete scaled metrics and total model number for each quarterback of significance here coming. But I wanted you to at least see an example of how I do the stats here, and very easy to do if you know a little bit of Excel. Frankly, if you're, in my opinion, okay, for me, Excel is essential, okay, and this is, not everything. Certainly, you use common sense over top of this, but you've got to have a foundation that's based on stats. Okay, it can't be based on wishes and dreams. Okay, so this is how I do it. So I have shown the scaled numbers as I just calculated for each quarterback. Here they are. You can look down this list. Here's the model number. I colorized it. And here's the fantasy point ranking from first. So that's Josh Allen, right? Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers. Yet in the model, then it's Aaron Rodgers number 1, Kyler Murray number 2, and Allen takes a drop down to number 6. Okay, so you could take a look at these, see what you think. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be interesting. Okay, and we'll take a look. 10th, yet the model predicts he really should be considered 5th as far as his performance. So, you know, it's a way to spot that. I mean, I think a lot of these numbers are just flipping around the top 10. But I think Lamar, I'm sorry, did I say Allen? I think I'm listening to too much country music here. Lamar Jackson, here it is, 5th. So if you think about numbers, and so I copied and then I did a tier system. And I think if you look at the model number, Aaron Rodgers stands on his own tier, okay? And then the next 3 are pretty much together, Murray, Mahomes, and Watson, and they'll probably be fighting, flip-flopping around in 2021. I did recalculate model per game. And if you do that, since Dak was the most major quarterback that was injured and didn't play but a few games, if you throw his number in there, he lands in the 3rd tier. And then it's Lamar, Allen, Russell Wilson flip-flopping 5th, 6th, and 7th. So there may be some opportunity for Dak, and I think Lamar might be something. If you're a late round person, you know, I think the 3rd or 4th tier is probably fine. There's always a debate, should I grab a late quarterback or an early quarterback kind of thing. Then the 5th tier is Herbert, where's it, A-Bear? Versus Tannehill. And again, these are numbers from 2020. It doesn't mean that these are going to be the numbers for 2021. But it's a start, okay? And the good news with Excel, if you put these names in, you can move numbers around and change your tiered rankings for yourself. I urge you to learn to do it yourself and find your methods. You're just listening. This is showing you my methods. I think it's perfectly logical to begin at this level, but hey, you know, however you win, I'm not going to complain. Here's the next tiers. As you might predict, gets a little shaky out here. And you start getting into those quarterback 2 type deeper plays, people that stream quarterbacks, 2 quarterback leagues. These are going to be your, you know, your targets for the 2nd quarterback or even 3rd quarterback down. Some things that I saw just of interest. Jared Goff here was 16th, but I have him 20th. I mean, that's not just so bad. Brady was 7th in fantasy, but 10th in the model. I mean, I'm not sure. I think Bridgewater might have been a little better than he appeared. But anyway, you can check it out. I think Breeze kind of fell down towards the end. You know, he definitely was spotty. And you can take a look. I know Wentz is getting a lot of play these days. I don't know. I think I'll let others go for him as their QB1. I won't be having him. as a QB1. Okay, so that was my quick 10-cent tour of the beginning of quarterbacks using principal component analysis. Just the beginning, not the end, not written in blood. Okay. So come back. I will be hitting the other positions with the next series of lessons here. Same methodology. Okay, we're having too much fun here. Come back. It's Bush, the process. We're having fun.